Earlier this week, Rockstar Games announced that their long-awaited Grand Theft Auto sequel would be delayed 6 months, coming out 13 years after the last installment. Yeah, that's a long time, but nothing compared to the 20 years that pirate fans have had to wait for Captain Blood. First revealed as an original Xbox game in the mid-2000s, this 3D beat-em-up is finally hitting modern consoles in 2025. After so many years stuck in development hell, is it even possible that this long-overdue Brawler is actually good? Or is it just too archaic to be taken seriously in this day and age? That's what we're about to find out when I, at long last, finally get to review Captain Blood. Before we can talk about the current release of Captain Blood, I first need to take you back to the year 2010. That was around the time that I was first introduced to the game at a small press event held by 1C called Another Night in Moscow. This is where I had a chance to play through an early build of the game, all while conducting an interview with some of the developers that were bringing Captain Blood to life. They even gave me this rare preview build of the game back when it was coming out on the Xbox 360. Now, despite the multiple previews that I published, Captain Blood never came out. You see, after I played the game, 1C found themselves embroiled in a nasty legal battle over the rights to the series. This, coupled with development and financial complications, ultimately doomed the project. And as the years went by, I slowly accepted that cool pirate-themed game that I saw at a trade show was never going to come out. Just throw it on that big pile of promising games that were cancelled before hitting store shelves, right alongside StarCraft Ghost and Fable Legends. But sometimes the future can be unpredictable, and here we are 15 years later, and Captain Blood is available for purchase on pretty much every system under the sun. You see, over the last few years, many of the members of the original development team came back together to not only resolve the legal issues, but finally finish the work that they started 2 decades ago. The result is an action game that feels like it stepped straight out of 2010. And trust me, I mean that in the best way possible. Back when I first previewed the game, I called it a cross between God of War and Captain Hook. And I'm not talking about the new, more introspective God of War where Kratos has a kid, but rather the button-mashing beat-em-up where heads are getting ripped off and blood is flying everywhere. This is a return to the fast-paced 3D brawlers that we saw in the late 2000s, complete with linear stage designs, simple upgrades, and brutally violent finishing moves where the enemies are getting mutilated in a bunch of satisfying ways. The story is set in the 17th century, where Captain Peter Blood and his crew are hired to rescue the daughter of a powerful politician from a cartoonishly nasty pirate. This quickly leads to the heroic captain finding himself in the middle of a nasty feud with the Spaniards, who are stealing treasures, taking over lands, and kidnapping anybody they can get their hands on. With honor, and more importantly, a whole bunch of gold coins on the line, Captain Blood sets sail to right some wrongs the only way he knows how. And that, of course, is by sending hundreds of scurvy dogs to Davy Jones's locker. Now, much like the preview build that I played 15 years ago, Captain Blood is split up into a couple of different types of levels. There's the action stage and the epic pirate ship battles. Most of the game will have you running down a linear path in order to fight wave after wave of pirates and other strongmen. Captain Blood has both a light and strong attack, which you can use to create a number of flashy combos. He also comes packed with a gun for long-range attacks, and a bomb that'll take out a bunch of baddies all at once. All of these moves can be upgraded between the levels, where you can buy new combos and even give our hero a longer life bar. It's all pretty standard stuff. The one interesting wrinkle actually comes in the form of a finishing move, or rather, a series of finishing moves. You see, unlike other similar action games, we can choose between 4 different types of fatalities, each with their own advantage. For example, the first one that many people will unlock will give Peter the ability to not just kill the enemy with their own weapon, but also to take it and use it against the rushing horde. This allows you to shake things up with a whole bunch of different types of swords and axes and even guns. Seriously, one of my favorite parts in this game is stealing the dual pistols and just going on a John Woo style shooting spree. Another type of fatality causes the enemy to drop a blue potion that'll quickly fill up your rage meter. Like it sounds, this is a special mode where our hero becomes faster and stronger for a temporary amount of time. The most expensive type of fatality is also the most useful, as it makes the enemies drop a whole lot more gold. While not as visually exciting as the others, I suppose, this does make it a whole lot easier to buy all the combos and upgrades that you've had your eye on. When you're not hacking and slashing on dry land, you'll be shooting cannonballs at attacking pirate ships. This is probably the most unique part of Captain Blood, though it's also the most frustrating. In theory, these stages are incredibly simple. Just shoot the surrounding ships before they get you. However, in practice, this never goes as smoothly as you would like. Because you'll constantly be surrounded by 8 or 9 different ships, all while pirates are constantly boarding and attacking you from all sides, it can sometimes feel like you're always under attack. Every time you go to shoot a cannon at a nearby vessel, you'll be constantly knocked back by either an incoming projectile or an enemy clobbering you from behind. You're gonna need to be quick and organized to win these fights. Otherwise, these battles can quickly become overwhelming. Now, it's during these nautical fights when you'll discover that the computer-controlled helpers are completely useless. Oh sure, it looks like they're fighting the enemies alongside you, but they aren't actually doing any damage. At best, they're just a distraction, pulling a few pirates away from the captain. This also bleeds into the action stages, where Peter's second-in-command is often helping with the fight. Just from a visual standpoint, it's actually pretty cool to see your crew mix it up with the enemies. But it's sometimes hard to know who is who, and they often get in the way. And really, the fact that they aren't even dealing any damage is really the final straw. I'm gonna level with you. I wasn't quite sure what to expect from this game. After all, Captain Blood started its life 20 years ago and has spent the last 2 decades in either development hell or cancelled. You can really only hope for so much from a half-finished Xbox 360 game that was pushed over the finish line some 15 years later. Let's be honest, this is the kind of game that has disaster written all over it. Thankfully, Captain Blood is not a disaster. Yes, it's dated. That can't be helped. Those big, clunky character models definitely look like they're 20 years old, but also in kind of a charming and cartoony way. The backgrounds, on the other hand, look surprisingly great. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to confuse this for a brand new game. But personally speaking, I thought the jungles and tropical setting actually delivered. The same is true for the action, which is fast-paced and full of cool effects. I don't know, maybe it's because I went in with low expectations, but I was actually impressed. Given its long and complicated history, this is about the best that fans could possibly hope for. That said, there are definitely times when this game feels dated. It's in the linear level designs that always keep you on a narrow path. It's in the way that Captain Blood mirrors most of the combos and moves that Kratos pulls off in those God of War games. It's in the constant use of the annoying QuickTime events, something that the game starts throwing into boss battles towards the end. A lot of the structure and gameplay mechanics feel like a throwback to a different era, which may or may not be a good thing depending on how you look at it. Part of the issue is that Captain Blood feels a bit janky, especially at the very beginning. It's mostly noticeable in the cinemas, where the sound mixing makes it extremely hard to hear what's being said. And even when the voices are nice and clear and you can make everything out, they aren't always saying the same thing that the subtitles are saying. Of course, that isn't helped by the fact that the subtitles have a hard time keeping up with the dialogue, leading to some unintentionally comical moments. The truth is, I can forgive some weird sound mixing issues, but I have a bigger issue with the story. Without spoiling anything, Captain Blood does that thing where it introduces a brand new villain right at the very end, just to give us a big climactic battle. The problem with doing that, of course, is that they forget to actually introduce the big bad character. Not only did I not know his name, but I wasn't even sure who he was supposed to be. It feels like an important part of the story was left on the cutting room floor in order to complete the game, something that left me scratching my head in the last stage. Look, the fact that the finished version of Captain Blood is a little janky and has some story issues isn't all that surprising. However, what is surprising is how good the finished product ended up being. Sure, you're probably gonna need to temper your expectations a little bit, but for a game that started its life on the original Xbox 20 years ago, Captain Blood hits harder than you might expect. It's a throwback to the type of 3D brawler that they simply don't make anymore. Something that actually ends up working in the game's favor. Guys, I get it. It could be that I'm literally the only person that's genuinely excited to see Captain Blood finally finished and released. But I don't know. I have a hunch that there are going to be a lot of people out there who find the pirates and beat 'em up action to be a winning combination. Two long decades after it was first announced, Captain Blood is finally out. And you know what? It's actually pretty good. By mixing pirates and God of War style action, this throwback action game is a reminder of how much fun this type of brawler can be. Yeah, it's a little clunky, the levels are painfully linear, the character models look outdated, the sound mixing is atrocious, and some of the plotting is a mess. But none of this is going to keep you from having a great time with this long-awaited swashbuckler. After all these years, it brings me great pleasure to be able to recommend Captain Blood. But just make sure to keep your expectations in check. Hey, thanks for watching my review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What canceled game do you wish would come out? Ooh, sadly, there are a lot to choose from, including Prey 2, Silent Hills, that Star Wars 1313 game, StarCraft, Ghost, and so many more. Honestly, I can't wait to see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we're going to be back later this week with a brand new Review Crew episode. While you wait for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,